Hello everyone, it's Master Ben here, and welcome to a brand new podcast series called Star Citizen Sunday. Now, if you are like me, you love listening and talking about Star Citizen all the time, and this is exactly what this podcast series is about. Each episode, I will sit down with a member of the Frontier Consolidated community or other creators and discuss something we are passionate about in the game. It could be lore, it could be ships, and it could even just be in-game events. And if there are any topics you'd really love to see covered, please do let me know and I'll add it to the schedule. Now, I'm not exactly known for regular uploads, but I will do my best to keep this series going alongside other new ship reviews, one of which is coming very, very soon, I promise. If you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing to never miss another episode, or even consider using my referral code when purchasing Star Citizen. At the time of recording, using my referral code or any referral code will give you a free Argo cargo with lifetime insurance. In this first episode, we will be talking about our favourite ships from every manufacturer in the game, so sit back and relax, or put on this series as you go to work, and enjoy this episode of Star Citizen Sunday. So there we have it, and welcome to episode 1 of Star Citizen Sunday. As said, it's ironically not recorded on Sunday, probably won't come out on Sunday, and it won't be every Sunday. But apart from those things, that's what we're going to go with the name. And first of all, let's welcome our first guest, Sly. Sly, thank you so much for coming along and talking about ships today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Good to chat with you. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, thank you. We have some interesting ships to talk about today, and probably some conflicting opinions, it's fair to say, about our choices at times. So I think this could be quite controversial, I think it's fair to say, on some of these.
I mean, I certainly I feel like I've picked a couple of options that people aren't gonna like. Because I'll probably end up trashing some ships that people are quite fond of.
Well, why don't we start off with an ever topical one in our rundown of all the manufacturers today, and that is Drake Interplanetary. Now, for anyone who is currently a player of Star Citizen, you'll know that Drake sponsored the recent IAE event, and they released a new ship called the Cutter and the Corsair, along with various other ships that took part in the event. Both of these ships can't be mentioned in the list, as obviously they are not currently flyable or will not be flyable in 3.18 or purchasable in game.
Sorry, can I just correct you there? They are flyable. They're not purchasable in game.
They are flyable, yes. Well, I mean, you could argue a Drake ship's not flyable, full stop.
I don't disagree with you.
Oh, honestly.
But yeah, but I think you kind of have to kind of give the cutter a bit of leeway because it is a starter pack.
It is.
Um, so it's not purchasable in game, but it is one of the ships that people are likely to purchase to get them into the game. Whereas other ships like the Corsair, you're not going to buy the Corsair with the intent of getting into the game because you have to already have the game for that to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be fair, the Cutter, I mean, we were talking about it a lot in the Discord. The Cutter is probably the best starship, in my opinion, at least. I personally think it's stronger than the Titan right now, and it's also better priced.
Yeah, at the time of recording, it's still got its IAE discount, which makes it the same price as the Aurora and the Mustang.
Yeah,
Which, given how much better it is than the Aurora and the Mustang, in my humble opinion, it is by far and away, in my opinion, at the moment, the best starter ship available. But
absolutely.
that may be subject to change once the price goes up to its full price. But I still think, it is going to be one of the stronger contenders for kind of best starter ship.
Absolutely. Although in flying it, I realised that when you change VTOL modes, your ship likes to fall out of the sky for a brief moment. That is less than fun. But hey, it's a Drake ship.
Oh, that's just exciting.
Exactly. Who wants to live on the edge? It's way more fun. Anyways, we digress, as these are ships you cannot currently purchase in game, so therefore that was all a waste.
Uh,
So the first
yeah,
ship, yeah, exactly. There we go. The first ship I'd like to bring up is the Buccaneer. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, the Buccaneer is what happens when a manufacturer says, how many guns can we put on one ship? And then let's add one more. And that's basically what they've done here. So it's a one crew fighter, probably a heavy fighter, which has absolutely no protection. But what it does have is a size 4, 2 size 3s, and 1 or 2 size 1s, which is
yeah. I
just
mean, that's
unbelievable.
absurd. That's an absurd amount of firepower for like any ship, or just any turret, really.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, it does lack in some areas. It can't really turn, but really turning sort of overrated when you think about it. As long as the enemy in front of you, you'll be absolutely fine. And isn't
Yeah, I
that
mean,
what pirating's about?
I think it's like it's endemic of the Drake philosophy, though, is that really all you want to do is put your foot to the floor and point at another ship and kind of, destroy that ship before it has a chance to start getting out of your way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if it takes you 2 runs, it takes you 2 runs. At the end of the day, if you need to strafe him, you can strafe him because the likelihood is you have a lot more firepower than them, and you are pretty quick in a straight line as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think this
Like
is
I've
one.
seen people use it, kind of in tandem with me when I'm flying, kind of Overwatch, particularly at Jumptown. And yeah, if you could just distract like an attacker long enough for the Buccaneer to get a lined up shot, it's game over. It's ridiculous how much damage it can do in a second.
Definitely. And I think one area it really excels in as well is shooting down A2 bombs because you have so much firepower on still a fairly maneuverable frame. Granted, it's not going to be a Gladius, but it's not half bad. You can get a lot of shots down sight at A2 bombs, so it's a lot easier to blow them up before they hit the ground.
Yeah, it's kind of like a weight of fire situation. It's more likely to get hit by one of the 10,000 bullets flying at it than it is the 1,000 bullets kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we can all agree on the Buccaneers being a fairly fun ship to get into Re18. Slight.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Have you got a ship you'd like to share for the audience?
So for me, I still think that in terms of small ambulances, the Cutlass Red is still king. I know the C8R has come out, obviously not viable in game at the moment, but it's still, in my opinion, not as good as the Cutlass Red.
I just
And
I don't know
go
what
on.
to say. I mean, it's an awful frame.
Oh, don't get me wrong, I hate the Cutlass. Like, I despise the Cutlass, but if you want to talk about which is the better ambulance, then the Cutlass Red is still better than the C8R. Because with the C8R, you have two issues. One, it's too small to get a vehicle into it. And two, like the only time you're really going to be going out to rescue someone, they're already down, so they can't share a mission with you. Which basically means that in terms of actually trying to rescue somebody, in the C8R, if they're in a bunker, you're looking at a kilometer and a half hike to get to them. Whereas with the with the Cutlass Red, you can still put a small ground vehicle in the back of it, and you don't have to slog all that way.
That's actually a really interesting point. The more I think about it,
You're kind of annoyed now because
I am I am annoyed.
really really strong discourse, and I've just slammed any argument
No,
you
I,
might have
I
had.
actually, yeah, that's infuriating. In my head, I'm thinking just Cutlass Red is god awful in every single way. But you're
Yeah,
dead. You're dead right. If you
like
can't get within the operational zone, what's the point of it?
don't get me wrong, I hate flying the Cutlass. It's not a fun ship to fly. It's bulky, it's clunky, it lands really hard. It slows too slowly. So you can't get in like efficiently. You have to kind of, slowly drift in. Whereas with any of the Pisces models, it's a beauty to just, get down. You can slow down real quick, get a nice landing in. You're on the ground in a couple of seconds, out the ship, out the back, down you go. But yeah, you can't do that with the Cutlass. But the thing that like all the advantages that the Pisces has are completely null and void just by dint of the fact that you can't get close enough to do that. You still have to still have to somehow avoid the four or more turrets that are waiting around a bunker.
So I think it really comes down to then what are you going to be using the Cutlass Red for? Now, obviously, in Frontier Consolidated, which is the org we both take part in, we are in the Legion, so we run combat events and combat
Yeah,
operations. Now, in these events, obviously, we're less likely to be in NPC run bunkers. So if
yeah,
you're
and
doing events that are far away from NPCs or turrets, things like that, I would still argue the Pisces is better. But actually, for most players, anyone who wants to get them to Star Citizen for medical gameplay, the Cutlass Red, yeah, that's a really valid argument.
yeah. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. If we're talking about like what we're doing in Frontier, as you're saying, even if we are in an NPC controlled bunker, everyone shares the mission before you get there. So yeah, you can still put the Pisces down. Like that's not a problem. But if your whole gameplay is just I want to be a paramedic, I want to just travel around Stanton for a while, rescuing people as they get downed. You can't do that in the Pisces.
My mind is blown.
You know, we'll wait and see if we get further down the list because obviously, I might upset people further on down the
Yeah,
line.
yeah. I mean, it's a strong start going with Drake and just saying, "Oh, go and buy the old medical ship." Someone at
Yeah,
CIG is crying right now.
I mean, maybe.
Don't buy the old one. Go buy the new one. It's only what, like £90.
Yeah, like, I mean, like taking away from that, I imagine there will be a point where if you pick up somebody's beacon, it will kind of soft share the mission with you.
Yeah, I
That's
think
just
so.
not happening right now. Because like eventually it's going to have to be the case where yeah, if you're in an ambulance trying to rescue somebody who's there trying to help the people who work and live in that bunker, odds are they're going to let you into the bunker from like a logic perspective.
You would hope so.
But right now it's not practical. And
Yeah,
which is unfortunate because I do like the CAR. I like the Pisces just full stop, but at the moment like the Reds utility is just better for me.
that's a real eye opener. It truly is. And with that, it's on to manufacturer number two. So this is Anvil. Now,
Which is convenient.
who knew? Maker of the Pisces. So this is going to be really interesting, isn't it? Sly, what would you say your favourite ship from Anvil is, or recommended ship?
Oh, so my recommended ship has to be the C8X.
Hang on a minute.
In terms of, I mean, basically for reasons that I previously stated, the C8R just doesn't have the utility that you want from an ambulance ship right now. Hopefully, subject to change in the future, and you can still use it for some ambulance stuff, but it's basically tied to only in situations where you're either doing an org event or you're doing PvP. And how often does FPS PvP actually happen in Star Citizen at the moment?
Yeah, it's incredibly rare and over within about 20 seconds typically.
Yeah, because all that happens is it's like 3v3 max, and one team goes down, gets finished, and that's the end of it. You're not talking about like a 30v30 scale thing where you actually need to casevac soldiers, get them healed up, or anything like that, which would be incredibly cool.
Oh, it'd be so
And
cool.
the C8R would be perfect for that. And when that starts to happen, it's probably going to be bumped up into my recommendations. But for now, C8X is just better. Um, okay, you lose the medical bed. So if you're running bunkers with friends, um, obviously you'd still kind of want the medical bed there. But what you get out of the C8X is you get space for two SCU boxes. It's still just as fast and maneuverable as the C8R. So you can actually loot stuff. And if you're going with friends anyway, like T3 injuries aren't debilitating.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Um, and yeah, like ultimately it's just, in my opinion, the better pick. And it's a lot more fun. You can fit more people in it, you can fit more loot in it. Um, and it's got two chairs instead of one. I appreciate they're bugged at the moment.
Yeah, it's an interesting bug that one. That's really inconvenient, but that Star Citizen. I mean, it's a shame, 'cause the C8R obviously has a mini fridge, which C8X doesn't have, and everyone loves a mini fridge full of adrenaline.
Yeah, I've got to agree that the C8R does have some nice kit inside of it. Like the fact that it comes preloaded with a bunch of drugs, that you can obviously use to fix your teammates up if you can't fix the injury they're suffering from, and the actual like physicalized internal storage that you can use to swap guns out with each
Yeah,
other is really useful.
that's really good.
But as I say, you could just two SCU box,
So I would say my
same
choice.
utility.
Oh, apologies. I say
No,
my
no, go
choice.
on. That was it.
Oh, there you go then. Happy days. I'd say my choice probably blows those two out the water. More literally than anything, just because it's the Hurricane. Once again, really going down the combat focus here. I think it's safe to say if you are looking to get into Star Citizen or play Star Citizen with a friend who both love combat and you want to do a multi-crew ship, the Hurricane is probably hands down the best multi-crew ship out there for combat right now.
If you're looking purely combat, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think the fact that it's got, what is it, like 4 size 4s or so 4 size 3s, is it?
I believe it's 4 size threes.
4 size 3s. That's a lot of gun in a very maneuverable ship.
Yeah,
And
it's absolutely crazy to be offering that much to users.
yeah, I mean, the only thing I would caveat is that the dedicated pilot's purpose is not to be a gunner. Because I've had it a number of times where I've been a gunner in someone else's ship, and all I'm doing is being jerked around, and I never actually get to take a shot. Because, like, the gunner of the Hurricane or the Warden or whatever I'm flying is just trying to dogfight.
Yeah, I think it's really a very different style of flying because anyone who's come from Elite Dangerous would have done their rough implementation of multi-crew, and you sit in a seat
Mm,
behind and you operate one gun or you operate a snub fighter. It doesn't really matter what the pilot's doing because you're always looking the same way. But yeah, as soon as you get in Hurricane, you realize your entire job is smooth flying, keeping the job of the gunner as easy as possible.
yeah,
That is really your focus. Sure, you have two size fours to shoot the enemy with, but the firepower they have is far superior to yours. You just need to focus on your shields and focus on keeping them on target.
yeah. And I mean, the only thing I would really criticize the Hurricane for is that it's an out and out fighter. If you want to pick up like a ship for you and your mate to play with the idea that maybe you do other stuff as well, you can't do that in the Hurricane
Oh,
because you've
definitely
got no
not.
internal space.
Yeah, it's
All
nothing.
you've got is the seats.
Yeah, it has absolutely nothing but fighting capabilities. At the end of the
Yeah,
day, you have to get out of it and get into a Vanguard, for example, if you want any sort of living space. And the
yeah.
Vanguard is another strong ship, but I said it doesn't really pale in comparison to when you're looking at a Hurricane, to be honest.
Nah, like if you pitted a Hurricane versus a Vanguard, I feel like the Hurricane wins that 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, I'd think so. I mean, just the Vanguard just can't roll really, whereas the Hurricane could just roll for days.
Yeah, and like ultimately, if you're looking at getting into Star Citizen, most people are probably looking at the combat side of things anyway.
Yeah, I'd think
And it
so.
is the most rounded out gameplay loop at the moment. It's the stuff that has the most content.
Yeah,
So yeah, I feel like the Hurricane is certainly a good pick for Anvil. I just really like the Pisces. It's just such a fun little ship.
the Pisces is great. I mean, the amount of times it saved me from being dead on the ground or just being picked up with a group of legions who need to get moved somewhere. It's unbelievable. It's such a versatile ship. But
Yeah,
I said I've got to go back to my roots of just pure firepower.
I mean, I think you get away with being able to do that as the head of Legion, though.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, if I'm
You
starting
know, if
recommending
you
miners.
Yeah, if you're like, oh yeah, I want to do the Anvil. I really like, the Karak as an exploration ship. That's my favorite Anvil ship. It's like, do you not like combat?
What's combat? No, I'm all about my charity work in Star Citizen.
Yeah,
Oh well, in
you
that
know,
in that case, let's move on to another probably I think underappreciated manufacturer. But
I have to
honestly I believe
say,
they brought it on themselves.
with any ship, I actually think that the meta is less important for a lot of the game
Yeah.
than actually how much you like the ship. And we've both picked the same ship here, and it's a gorgeous ship. Like,
Oh yeah.
there is nothing prettier, in my opinion, than the Talon.
Absolutely. I mean, the Talon's one of those ships where I think a lot of people are sold on the look and the design of it. I mean, it is a sexy ship.
Yeah.
The way you get into it and you get lifted on your back effectively into this giant sort of TV screened room, and that's how you look through it all. So you get the different colours from the alien look. It is just a really special ship, and the fact it
Yeah,
carries two size four guns as well is it's great firepower once again, but is it enough? You're sacrificing a lot to bring a Talon into a fight.
yeah. I mean, like, it's one of those things that as a PvE ship, I love the Talon. Because it is just a genuine pleasure to fly it. It feels smooth. It's not clunky like some of the other ships. Even some of the light fighters feel a little bit clunky sometimes. There's something about the Talon's flight model that just works, but it is trash in PvP.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like just don't even bring it because you know what will happen.
Yeah, you like the second you lose one wing, it's an unflyable mess.
And I think you actually touched on a really important point there, which is something I said back in my original Saber video that started this interesting year we've had of attempts to make videos.
Yeah,
Medium ships, I personally believe, medium fighters have the best flight model in the game because unlike the light fighters where they're too quick. You don't feel like you're actually flying a spaceship. You're just trying to chase your mouse or joystick around the screen. Whereas the medium fighters all seem to have just enough weight where you can almost feel it fighting against you when you try and turn an atmosphere. But at the same time, they
Yeah,
do cooperate when you tell it to do something.
yeah, I know what you mean. It feels more like basically like word for word what you just said. It feels more like you're actually flying a physical ship
Yeah.
rather than what's effectively like a ballerina, right? Like to use the term because things like the Arrow and to a slightly lesser but still pretty strong extent the Gladius, um, they are so incredibly agile. It is like being weightless, regardless of how much atmosphere you're in or how much
Absolutely.
gravity you're fighting against. But yeah, like the medium fighters do feel a bit more punchy, I guess, in terms of actually having to put your foot down to get them to move. And
I was going to use the word real, but then I remembered it's a pixel game on my computer screen.
I mean, I think I feel like they're trying to go for semi-realistic flight models though, so calling it real kind of makes sense within the scope of the game.
I would think so. I mean, sort of, you look how the wings of Talon fold out in a way. Why would they put wings on a ship if they don't expect it to perform well in atmosphere in places like
Yeah,
this? It's like saying the Corsair. Why do you put huge wings on it? I mean, you could argue it's just a rule of cool, which is fair enough. But yeah, I really think they are going to push for proper flight models.
yeah, and it's just one of those things where they've discussed this a number of times with people, and basically everything at the moment, all the gameplay loops that are currently in the game are the what's called tier zero, which
Yeah,
means they're in, but it is like the bare bones base model of it. And over time, they're going to start tier oneing everything and tier twoing everything until they get it complete. And as we get that, I expect we'll get either more realistic or more enjoyable flight models. And they'll go one of two ways with that. I hope they go for more enjoyable.
I
Um,
hope so.
but if they go for more realistic, there's an element of fun you can get from that, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it brings a whole different type of challenges. I'm just slightly worried we're going to have starfarers, reclaimers, and anything larger just falling into atmospheres and just getting stuck on the ground until sort of AA comes and picks them up again.
I
Then
mean,
that
I
will
know
be
that's supposed to happen for some of the capital cargo ships, though, right?
yeah. So the Carrack is what I said about the Carrack is it can fly in atmosphere, but if it's laden, it can't take off again.
Oh, interesting. I thought they were doing that for things like the Hull E.
That is also the same for the Hully C and D.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't think that would be the case for the Carrack.
Not Carrack, sorry. Kraken. Apologies.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense.
Someone in the comments is currently writing a message going, "Oh, you
Oh,
corrected
never
it.
mind.
Okay, yeah, damn
But
it."
but that would be quite funny though. Like in terms of say your Kraken has to go into refuel and then you have to try and wait for everybody to get online so they can fly their ships off of your flight deck so you can take off again.
It's going to be an interesting time, definitely.
But yeah, so I think overall the Talon's a pretty nice ship, even though it's not meta.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things, really what I'd encourage is, especially while this is an alpha and what you do doesn't matter. What you do wherever doesn't matter, but go for the ships you actually think are cool. Go for the ships you've never tried before. Remember that 4.0 will most likely come with another wipe. Not guaranteed, but most likely will. Um,
Yeah,
go for what you want to enjoy in 318 because it's not going to last forever. It's not going to last forever in 4.0 either. But yeah, I just go for the rule of
yeah,
cool.
and while we're here talking about doing what you want, we've still got a little while of 317 left. So if you've got friends who play or you're part of an org, it might be worth just asking them if you can borrow or try out some of the ships that they've got in their hangars. So you can kind of plan ahead for yourself. Like, actually, you know what? I really like the Talon. Actually, I really hate the Talon. Maybe I want to go try the Arrow or whatever.
Yeah,
And then you can kind of plan out what your 318 is going to look like.
yeah, definitely. Speaking of planning out what your 318 will look like, let's talk about everyone's favourite manufacturer and the one CIG loves to push recently, Crusader Industries. Ah, those beautiful, sleek C series, Spirit series ships, aren't they lovely? Ah,
I mean, I'm not familiar with why why you're clearly upset about the C series, but um,
I'm not upset about them at all. I absolutely love the Spirit series. I think they have sort of a beautiful design all round. I don't understand the E1, which seems to have tried to cram a first class cabin into a loft. That's a bit odd, but there we go. Anyways, those aren't the ships we're here to talk about, as they're not coming out until, well, CIG says May June next year.
so we
Let's
can
wait and
assume
see.
May June 2025
Yeah,
probably.
they never said a year.
Yeah.
The ship I have, the ship I've written on this list is the Ion. Now, a bit of backstory. I used to absolutely love the Ion. I flew it every day. It was my daily driver for everything. It's got a really good quantum drive. It's got a size 7 Ion laser on it, which is just absolutely epic, and its DPS is mental when you can get it on site. However, it has been absolutely butchered to death. And
What have they like messed with its flight model so you can like never get on the site anymore?
yeah, so the flight model effectively is just wish washes. I feel like that's a really British term to say, but effectively, wherever you try to zero in on, it just drifts past, sort of left and right, forward and center. So you can never actually aim fully down the sight. And what they've managed to do is make a ship which hits hard, but in low quantities, i.e., it has a high rate of fire, but also is incredibly hard to get on target, which would be okay if it had like really big hitting one shots, but it doesn't. So, while I have written Yarn here, I'm actually not going to recommend the Yarn. I'm actually going to recommend the Inferno. The reason
Mhm.
being, it has the exact same issues that the Iron has. However, the Inferno has ballistics. It has a 3,000 round ballistic Gatling size 7 once again. The reason that's really important is in 318, CIG are buffing ballistics. They're technically nerfing shields. So shields currently absorb some of ballistic rounds, not all. So this most damage still goes to the hull. This is being substantially nerfed in 318. So the fact that shields block almost nothing. So what this means is your
That's
3,000
interesting.
rounds are going to go so much further.
Yeah, so you basically like you've almost ignored their shields by doing that,
Absolutely,
which
absolutely,
is
and
actually in terms of PvP, like in PvE, that's basically irrelevant because PvE ships are trash. But in PvP, like if someone's got the best shields and you're just ignoring them, that's a big game changer.
yeah, it really is. I mean, especially around if we take the example of the Hammerhead. The Hammerhead has a relatively small amount of flares. I believe it's around 15 or 25. It's between there. Obviously, that means it can block eclipses for a fairly long amount of time. However, what it can't block is a Gatling sitting on it while it's being distracted by other ships. Now, this is what they're
Yeah.
really doing in 318. They're allowing small groups of coordinated, let's say pirates, mercenaries, whatever, take on much bigger ships. So, yeah, I think the Inferno is going to be incredibly fun next patch, but it comes with a massive caveat of do not try and fight anything that's small in it, and you have to be in a group of other supporting ships because the
Yeah, so
Inferno by itself doesn't work.
so you've effectively made like a destroyer type thing where its purpose is to be fighting something bigger than it,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
rather than something that's more directed at fleet command or fleet protection.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely that. And Sly, can you think of any large ships it could be shooting?
I mean, so I could think of the ship that I was going to recommend, but apparently now I don't want to do that. No, like in terms of Crusader Industries, like I'm not overly fond of a lot of their ships just because I think they're a little bit over-engineered. But I do like the Hercules ships, and particularly I like the A2. Um, the reason I like the A2 is quite obvious. It's for the giant bomb on it.
Can't say no
And
to that.
like as with 318 is going to start asking for more ground-based combat. Um, so the A2 becomes a little bit more useful in terms of either area denial or area clearing so that you can move in. Um, and it becomes a lot more useful because it is the only ship really that can make a very large area of ground very safe very quickly. There,
Yeah,
there isn't another ship like other ships that have large ordnance for fighting other ships, like the Eclipse, for example. Brilliant for taking down something like a Hammerhead or even an A2, as with the Inferno. Um, but the A2 has a very specific role that only it fills. And it's not overly expensive.
Oh, you're saying prices now. I have no idea for the A2. The A2, personally, 317 for me has been a patch of just sit back and enjoy the game instead of trying to grind for absolutely anything.
And that's fair, but like I guess we're talking about like how people are planning 318. Like the A2 is I think 5.5 million, give or take,
Gosh, incredibly cheap.
which I know for people just starting out in the game, that sounds like a daunting prospect to try and save up for that. But once you get your reputations up for certain things, you start getting, tens, um, up to, like the high end bunker missions, for example, will pay you 100,000 after you credit like the mercenary bounties for shooting each individual person.
Yeah, but I think it's spot on then, especially obviously I'm going to plug the Orc here. Sort of Frontier Consolidated, we do a lot of mining events, and that's a great
Mm,
time to learn mining if you're new, or to make some good money if you're someone who's looking to do security roles or even mining. Yeah, it's really
yeah,
good way of making that money. And you're dead right. Money suddenly becomes very immaterial quite quickly in Star Citizen
at,
right now.
yeah. At the moment, that will obviously be subject to change later on when they start rejigging the
Yeah,
economies.
definitely.
Um, but right now, like, yeah, you've got this initial kind of grind where you have to get out of the poorhouse, basically, and then once you're out of that, like, making money is just so quick
Yeah.
because then they're not trying to make you have to grind for everything at the moment. They want you to test all of these things.
I think yeah, I mean you've hit the nail on the head really, isn't it? It's yes, there's a grind right now, but that's so that people explore the different mechanics of making money. And also, to be honest, they have something to do. If everyone started with 15 million credits like they do on the PTU,
I'd get so
people
bored.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's very common in discords and communities for people to say, I can't wait for the wipe to happen so people are on a level playing field again
Mm,
financially. It is a really sort of liberating experience for everyone to be on that same page of, right, let's go out, let's do some mining, let's all make money together instead of, oh, I don't need to do anything again because I'm ready for the whole patch or whatever.
yeah, 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 exactly. So, like, in terms of the amount of work you have to put in on a wiped update where everybody loses everything, everybody is at square one. You can't just go and join your friend's crew until you make enough money for what you want.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
all have to like. Obviously, there are still people that own their own character, but they're fewer and much further between than say the amount of people that currently have a character because they've saved up for them all in game.
Yeah, dead right.
And yeah, so ultimately, I really like what the A2 offers. It's not too expensive. It's a decent cargo ship, and it's got a lot of multi-crew capability in terms of the extra seats and turrets that it has.
Gosh, it has so many turrets underneath it. It's a really interesting one on regards to, all its weapons are aimed at the ground. So it
Mm.
almost feels like you should be doing aerial bombardments. It's a shame that feature's not really there yet. But I think especially with Jumptown sort of 3.0 coming in, I believe it's coming 318,
Yeah, I
having
don't know. I think it's been like semi kind of, is it or isn't it?
right. But fingers crossed, then or sometime in the new year, we will have a lot of fun with the new Jumptown. So yeah, A2, you're going to see a lot of them because everyone likes to bomb things. It's a really fun mechanic as well. It's actually really well implemented, so it feels very ready. Unlike, for example, like the docking mechanic, which feels a bit more clunky in places.
Mm.
So Tumbral land systems. Now this is an interesting one because obviously Tumbral don't actually make that many. We don't make any ships. It's all, you guessed it, land systems.
Yeah, I think yeah, that's it. Like it's all just cars and tanks and I think they have. Did they make the Ranger?
I believe they have made the Ranger. Yeah, obviously
Yeah,
it's not
obviously
out,
it's not in
but
game yet.
soon they'll have 2 wheels, no wheels, and 4 wheels.
Yeah,
So personally, for here, I've gone for the Nova tank. I think that's a fairly fairly obvious choice. It's something everyone should sort of try out. Having played water tanks for 10 years, anywhere where I can play a tank, always fun, sort of rekindle that addiction right there.
Yeah.
The Nova Tank's great fun. Size 5 weapon on it. It's got ballistic Gatling for the. No, it's not ballistic. Apologies. Repeater for the commander. And also it's got twin rockets on the top for. I believe the gunner or the pilots can use that. Or driver, apologies. So, yeah, it's really quite open, that one. But the amount of fun we've had with Nova Tanks in New York has just been sort of exponential. But you can put them on top of 890 jumps and do battleships. That's very
Yeah.
entertaining, and there's a few videos online about that, so I definitely give that a Google. I have loads of footage of it, so I'm sort of quite nice to piece some of that together and make it into a little promo for tank battles.
Yeah, I mean, like 890 battleships is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
It's just mindless stupidity, really. Like, there's no point to it other than let's see if we can, and it as a game it works so well.
oh, absolutely, yeah. But yeah, I don't think there's much more to say about my Nova Tank. I mean, the one
Like,
caveat I'll quickly say is, obviously we're talking about buying these in game. You should never ever purchase any ground vehicle with real money because the
no.
markup is incredible. So, for example,
Oh, it's ridiculous.
I think the
So
Nova Tank's around $120.
yeah, but it's like, what is it, 400,000 credits?
Yeah, it's sort of not pennies, but it's incredibly cheap in game.
Yeah, so like the difference between that is that, like, say any of the cutlasses cost you around the same price on the cash store. They're about like 100 to
Yeah,
120, give or take. But in game, they're like 1.2 million. So you're effectively paying the same price for something that costs a third the in-game cost,
yeah,
and something that also has, unfortunately, at the moment, far less utility because you can only use a Nova tank either during very specific events or when you're pissing about. Like, you can't actually go and realistically go and do bunkers or go and haul cargo or anything like that in the Nova because it would take you all day to get anywhere.
I'm just envisioning uh, a Nova Tank currently driving from Port Olisar to Virginia Point, doing a cargo run.
I mean, I was more thinking like going from, say, Lawville to one of the like mining places,
Yeah,
right? Like
that would
driving
make more
across the
sense.
planet.
Yeah.
Like, it's theoretically doable, but that's like a day. That's a day's work.
Oh, that's more than a day.
It depends on the ones you go to. I'd have to have a look at the map again, but I'm pretty sure there are places that aren't terribly far away.
Maybe we should
Like, I
do
know there's a
that.
couple of bunkers that are like within, like if you're at the height of atmosphere, you can see them from Lawville.
In my mind, I just have an idea for a charity stream now where we drive from one side of Lowell to another in Nova tanks.
Uh, yeah, I mean that's a thing that is done. It takes a few hours. Also, like if you're going to do that, you might want to do that before they make Lawville 3 times its size.
Oh god. Let's see if anyone's made it this far in the video and they can put it in the description, in the comments. And
Yeah.
there we go. We'll go from that point of view. What have you picked for Tumbral?
See, I've gone an entirely different way because although I do appreciate the Nova tank, and I will say that ground vehicles are a lot stronger than people think they are. Um, I really like the Cyclone RC. It is, to my knowledge, the only wheeled vehicle that has boost,
I believe so, yeah.
and it is genuinely a lot of fun. So if you are, doing things, um, in terms of racing around, maybe you want to do some ground racing, and there are tracks on that that people have kind of put together. The Cyclone RC is the most fun to do it in. It's the most, go fast vehicle we've got.
Yeah,
And,
I have nothing to add to it. It's an incredibly fun vehicle. Also,
yeah,
the base paint job is incredible. That red with the every now and again, I think there's a blue hint on it, or was a bit of black on there,
I
probably.
think so. Yeah, I think it's red and either blue or black, I think.
Yeah,
Um, but the other thing about it is that it's like 20,000 credits.
yeah, exactly.
Like, it's dirt cheap. You can't hurt your wallet by getting one in game.
Yeah,
Because you do one bunker and you've paid for it, regardless of like how low your rep is in that system. It's going to cost you pennies.
Yeah, it's exactly that. I mean, there are so many things to do in Star Citizen which people forget about because they're on the ground.
Yeah,
But we've
and
had some of our best fun doing ground missions, ground racing, and yeah, it's incredible what you can do with a cyclone. And exactly as you said, they can hit a lot of rocks on Daymar and they will not blow up. And
yeah,
sometimes they'll
yeah.
hit one rock on Daymar and they'll be gone.
Mm. Yeah, like exactly. They are pretty tough, really quick, and mostly, I do like the exploration aspect of Star Citizen, and I feel like you miss a lot of that being in the air.
Is
Just
this
driving across the any terrain really, you get to see some really nice vistas. Okay, they're pre-generate, like they're auto-generated and stuff, and they don't look as amazing as they would in something like Red Dead Redemption. Um, but you do get some really, really nice views in the Cyclone or like just any ground vehicle. And in the Cyclone, you just get around quicker to see them.
round Citizen, ladies and gentlemen, coming soon? So next up we have Banu. So Banu is one of those manufacturers where it's probably the one I hear the most outside of a certain galaxies getting released, mainly because of the Banu Merchantman, obviously, and all the hype around that, the controversy
Yeah.
recently around it. Oh, it's never ending. But I believe Banu only has one ship in game, so we've gone for the Defender.
It's funny that you've mentioned the Defender because
I was shocked
I
that we
think we
picked it.
both picked it. Like we both picked the Defender as the only ship in game.
It's incredible how we just, great minds and all that. Do you know my favorite thing about the Banu Defender is its green quantum animation is beautiful the first like 5 times you see it. After that, I think it's a seizure risk. Not gonna lie, it's powerful to say the least.
Right. I mean,
Uh,
I'll be honest. I've never actually seen the quantum animation in game because normally I'm sitting like if I'm in a defender, I'm probably second seat, and when we're going elsewhere, I just like pop out, get a drink or something like that.
you just head to the shop. That's fair enough. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean that's the other thing about it. This may just be me who experiences this issue in the Banu Defender, but whatever seat I sit in, I don't have priority control if I'm trying to pilot it. I understand there's a hotkey somewhere. I'm yet to find that hotkey, so
Mm.
I sort of avoid the Defender like the plague.
I think
Um,
it probably just defaults to the owner, doesn't it?
no, so that's the thing. I owned it, and I just could
Oh,
not get control of my own ship.
that's very strange.
Yeah, it was an annoying evening, and after that, I got rid of it. Um,
I do like the Defender's interior though.
it's a bit
It's a
dark.
bit it's a bit odd looking, and you're right. It could do with a bit more light. Just like a downlight in the ceiling or something
Yeah,
like that. Um,
floodlight.
but like it feels like it almost feels like a tent. Obviously, you got like the beds on each
Oh, I know
side
what
for
you
the
mean. Yeah.
like it's like a combat camping trip, which I kind of I like the aesthetic. Is it actually useful having
No.
that? Not really, because it's only ever going to be sat on a merchantman anyway. You don't need beds in the Defender because you've got your entire apartment block right
Yeah.
next to you.
You've got an apartment block, a medical center, and a prison.
A,
Why are you
a
in the
shopping
Defender?
center.
Yeah. You have a suburb, and yet you're in the Defender. You're in the
Yeah.
motel for the night. I think the Defender, like, regardless of is it really that useful? I mean, okay, I know it's great to jump around the system stock. I think it's got the fastest quantum drive, which can be really, really useful if you're moving gear around. So it's one of those ships you can just forget about, and when you need it, it's kind of there. Um, to me, the Defender was that ship where Star Citizen proved they could do some really cool alien designs. I don't just mean the look, but actual the sound. So the sound engineering in the Defender is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, all around, like even when you sort of go into Afterburner, especially if you haven't heard it, I'd really encourage you to go find someone who has a Banu Defender. Sit in the seat, fly it, whatever, but just go into Afterburner, and it's this incredible sound. Yeah, so really, really worth it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, if you do get the chance to try the Defender out, especially with a friend, because it is a two-seater ship and you lose a lot if you
Like
don't have
control of
people
your
in
own
it.
ship, I know.
Yeah. But like if you have a friend, it is a ship that I would recommend tooling around in. Just give it a couple of tries. If you don't like it, or if it's not for you or whatever, that's fine. But
But
it
please
is it
don't
is
come
good
back
fun.
and tell us we recommended a bad ship when there's only one to recommend.
Yeah.
Okay, so Argo. This is quite an interesting one. There's Argo in
Yeah, but,
recent
well,
time has brought out some new ships which have really changed up the dynamic of the
yeah.
manufacturer.
I mean, mostly it's an interesting one for me because you're forced to definitely not pick a combat ship with this one.
Well, I don't know. Have you ever
Oh,
seen an Argo cargo with a railgun in the back?
you know what? I haven't, but that
Oh,
sounds
you're
hilarious.
missing out. You can also put an A2 bomb in the back of an Argo cargo. Now that's
Oh,
terrifying.
really?
You can't detonate it, sadly.
Oh,
So you're just a porter at that point for A2 ammunition.
that's less fun.
Yeah.
But
But
still, that's still kind of funny though. Like if you imagine an A2 running out of ammunition and then like a bunch of Argo cargos fall out the top of a carrack or something like that, just running more nukes over.
who knew? This is the real game mechanic. This is why they brought it in. But what ship have you gone for, Sly?
Oh, I've gone for the mole
That's
because,
a strong choice.
I think genuinely one of the issues I have with trying to do mining is that doing it on your own gets really tedious really fast. Because it is just like it's just rinse and repeat. Go back, look for a rock. Oh, I found a decent rock. Cool. Break it. And don't get me wrong, in terms of like the detail and actually how mining works in Star Citizen, it's leagues above every other space game that I've played. Because every other space game is just look at a rock, point, click, wait for 5 minutes. Oh, you're done. Cool. There is an actual gameplay mechanic to Star Citizen that if you screw it up, you can blow yourself up.
It's a really interesting point, actually. So I'll be honest, I'm staying mainly silent on mining as I have never mined in Star Citizen.
Never
I
mind.
have never mined.
Wow, I thought you might have tried it at some point, but
Nope.
just didn't like it.
I have never mined at all. I'm okay, so sure, in prison every now and again when you make a few mistakes in the outside world, but
Yeah,
um,
you can't be bothered to actually pay for your crimes, so you quickly just
yeah, exactly. So you just
mine
go
for some rocks and
you go and get old Crusader some money. But yeah, I have never mined Star Citizen. From being on the mole, really cool ship. All I would say is when your turret's deployed, pirates can get on because there's a giant open door from where like your turrets deploy outwards. So that's always
yeah.
something to look out for. But
I mean, in my opinion, like the mole as a ship, you kind of want it to be part of a larger operation anyway. So theoretically, you should have an escort because the mole can't really defend itself. Which is the same for I think any industrial ship really, barring the Hercules
yeah,
series. Like no industrial ship barring those actually has a good shot at defending themselves from a pirate attack.
with that being said, I have heard wonderful things about putting ballistics on your mole because no one
Yeah,
expects that. They
yeah. I
sit in
mean, I
front
can
of
I
you.
can see that working. What I would like, yeah, like what I would, I suppose I'd like to see a mole actually having a good slugfest with someone because normally you either run, drop your cargo, or just explode.
That sounds about right, to be honest.
But as an industrial ship, just actually having someone to sit and chat with while you're playing, and don't get me wrong, you could do that in like 2 or 3 prospectors as well. But it feels more like you're working towards something together when you're actually all sat in the same ship, working the lasers on the same rock
And I
or the
think
same patch of rocks.
I definitely agree, and I think that really is what Star Citizen should be about. There's no point
Yeah,
being by yourself. As I said, we've aimed this video at people who, either haven't tried these ships and want to try something new, or people who are brand new to the game and looking for their first ship or first few ships. If you don't know how to mine, you're not too confident about mining, or you really love mining and want to try it in a different way, get a crew in there because
yeah,
being in calls, hearing people discuss what they're doing and different charges and things like this to break down rocks quicker, incredibly interesting. And there's a real science into making it as efficient as possible, especially when you start including other ships who are actually finding the rocks for you. So all you have to do is get there, clean up the rocks as quick as possible, and then go to the next rock. At that
Yeah.
point, it's all about how quickly you can do your job and not how quickly you can find a rock, which I can imagine is usually the largest time sink.
Um, yes and no. Like sometimes you get lucky runs where actually like it doesn't take that long at all to find a rock, and then you fill up, go back, empty, come back, and then you find another rock pretty much straight away. The issue kind of stems from sometimes you don't know if a rock is worth it because you can get rocks that are like this won't fill me up,
Uh,
um, but it will kind of nearly fill me up. And if I don't take this now, it could be a while before I find another one that's any good. So you kind of have to start as you get kind of further into understanding how mining works, you start being able to look at a rock and be like, this is this percentage of this mass that will fill me up, or that will fill me up X amount. So I need another rock of X, you know, percentage of mass or whatever to actually make it worthwhile.
Interesting. Okay. Speaking of ships that get filled up, I've picked the raft.
Oh
So
yeah.
I actually really like the raft. To me, it's another one of these really new ships, and it's really shown where Star Citizen has learned from its previous design mistakes, especially with interiors. So the raft has this beautiful living space,
Mm.
which just doesn't fit. Well, it doesn't fit the old Argo. But what we need to remember is this is a two-person cargo ship, which is designed to always be on the move. It has fast deploying cranes to drop containers and pick up containers, so there really is no loading time. So you're constantly on the move. And at that point, what you want is a really nice cabin to sit back, relax in, and just enjoy quantum as you're going by. And that's exactly what the raft does. It has this beautiful interior. Um, it's a really heavy ship to fly. Like you feel like you are flying a brick because you
Yeah.
are. So yeah,
Yeah. Like it's one of the things that I'm kind of always looking for in Star Citizen is the ship that I would take out into the verse on long hauls alone. Because while I am predominantly a combat flight pilot, occasionally I want to just go and explore. Because Star Citizen, for all of its faults, is a gorgeous game. And as we start getting more solar systems opening up, we're talking way in the far future now. I would like to have that one ship that I can be like, this is the ship that I'm taking out with me. I'll be back in 3 weeks.
you're leaving for 3 weeks. Where
I
will I
mean, like
find an ace dropship pilot?
an ace dropship pilot. I mean, it wouldn't matter if I was there.
Oh yeah.
You want to look for one that's actually good.
Damn. Oh well, maybe next time.
I have multiple accounts anyway, so.
Whoa. Is that how you're going to run your javelin, right? You're just going to have a multi crew of
Oh yeah,
NPCs.
I am gonna be one of those people that is like, oh yeah, I've got a Bengal on my own and I have 300 accounts and I've just got a house full of towers.
Chris told me this was allowed. What do you mean?
Yeah, just got a house full of towers, and as like each turret goes down, I just like shift my chair along half a foot or something to another keyboard and mouse.
Who knew? There you go, Jim. This is the new meaning of Star Citizen.
I wonder
So
how much that would cost you.
I don't want to know.
Yeah, neither do I really.
How about we wrap up this episode with another alien manufacturer who I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce.
I
Aopa?
think it's Aopoa, but I could be wrong.
Aopoa? No, it can't be that.
All right.
Oh, it could be. Actually, sorry, I take that back. It could. I have no idea. Aopa? I don't know. Basically, the ship I'm suggesting is the Cartwell. The
Yeah.
only reason I'm suggesting it is, well, there's quite a few actually. It's not actually for the ship itself. The ship itself is Um, it's a lot of wings because if you lose a wing, you lose some thrusters, and therefore you get major torque imbalances, and therefore you can't fly in a straight line. So for a combat ship, it's not very good at combat because it has so many deficiencies in its flight model. However,
Yeah.
it has hovering stairs and genuinely, I could be wrong in the numbers, but what feels like the fastest turning rate in the game, to the point where you're not just battling your mouse like in a Gladius, but you are literally just fighting for survival. Like it is crazy how quick the thing turns. So,
Fair.
should you buy one? I would say no. Should you pick up someone else's and give it a little fly? Yeah. rent it in Arena Commander, give it a try there. It is a genuinely entertaining thing to try and control, but nothing more than that.
Mm. I mean, that is another point as well. Like, while we're talking about Arena Commander, just as a little segue, it is quite easy to grind for money in Arena Commander because you know you do the Pirate Swarm or the Vandal Swarm, or you can just do the FPS, and all of that will go into it like a shared bank account for you that you can then use to go and rent out other ships. It's a lot cheaper to do that in game. It's also a lot faster than it would be to say fly halfway across Stanton, go down into atmosphere, find the ship manufacturer shop. So if you ever do want to try some of these out, you're not sure you want to actually waste time grinding to see if you'll like them. It can be a much easier way to just go in real quick, go into Arena Commander, and try it out in there.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really good way of doing things. And yes, it can seem like quite a lot of grinding for wreck at the beginning. What I would say is do it at the beginning of a patch, like when you're just not feeling the game. If there are any early game bugs in the patch,
Mm.
grind up a lot of rep, and then you're sort of done for the whole patch, and you can just log in whenever you want, play some games, and keep building up that rep. Obviously, what you really need is that sort of starting capital. Once you have it, you will always make rec while you play. So as long as you're playing every now and again, you'll probably offset anything you spend to an extent where
Yeah.
that bulk you've made will actually last you quite a long time.
I mean, yeah, like I basically don't really have to like earn rec in Pirate Swarm or anything because I play enough FPS that it pays for everything in
Yeah,
Arena
likewise.
Commander. But yeah, it's just that is an option. Obviously, most players who've been here for a while are aware of that. But if you're a new player looking at getting into the game and you do want to try some new ships, it can be a much easier and more simple way of um, getting around to seeing the ships that you want to see, rather than grinding in game for ships that you can't rent and then having to travel halfway across the solar system to go and buy them, and then realizing you utterly hate them and you've just wasted however many hours it took you to grind the money that it took to buy it.
And if you are a new player looking to get Star Citizen who's also listened to an hour video, what should you do,
Yeah.
Sly?
I don't know, come and try out for Frontier.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good actually. That's a good shout. Yeah. Link
I
in the
mean, I don't know
description.
what was your idea
Do you
because
know what? I don't know. I genuinely thought I'd throw the question out, see what you plug. I was going to go for a referral code, but yeah, that's probably been done in the intro by me.
that's fair enough. It's probably been done on the intro because the intro has totally been recorded prior to us
The
actually
intro
doing
has
this.
absolutely been recorded. Yes, of course. Well,
But yeah,
there.
like going back to it though, the Carter Wow, it's a really pretty boat.
I would never buy one in game. I'm going to be totally honest.
No, that's fair. I understand. I'd be tempted to rent one in Arena Commander just to see what it's like, but
Yeah,
for the
definitely.
same reason, I'm probably not buying one in game.
Yeah, like I said, it just turns like mad. But the minute you lose anything, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Also, it doesn't currently spawn correctly. It spawns on its side. So that the Cartuel is like a knife edge almost the way it spawns. It spawns fallen over and you can't get in. But
That's
apart
really
from that
funny.
issue, it's a great ship.
Help me! I've fallen and can't get up.
The ship has McFallen, ladies and gentlemen, and it
Jesus,
can't get up.
that's brilliant.
Well, there we have it. That is the first. What was that? Like first 8 manufacturers of Star Citizen. Obviously, not in chronological order, non alphabetical order. We just picked an order.
Yeah.
If you liked this, we have a part 2 coming. Most likely next week on Star Citizen Sunday, not to be released on a Sunday. And also, that name is not fixed because I'm not the biggest fan of it, but there we
I,
go.
I, I feel like if you want to continue this joke, you need to just put in a segment about Elite Dangerous at some point.
Is that something from Elite Dangerous?
Huh? No. Because it's Star Citizen Sunday. Just be like, not Sunday, not Star Citizen.
Oh, that's quite good. Yeah, if I just start doing mining videos in Elite Dangerous,
Yeah.
that could be my big time if I just make low temperature diamond videos. I'm sure they
Oh
haven't been done
yeah.
to death.
Yeah, that's really exciting gameplay
Well, there we have it. Slight, thank you so much for joining me on these first 8 manufacturers. You'll be back for the next 8, I'm sure.
there. Yeah.
Is there any final
That's
comments you'd like to add?
No, I just want to say it's actually been quite fun to be here.
Quite fun.
Well, I spend a lot of time with you at the moment.
You're
You're kind of
stuck.
sickening me now. No.
Well,
This has been a good laugh.
I'm glad you've enjoyed
I've
it. And
enjoyed this chat, and you've given me some perspective on a couple of ships that I hadn't really thought about.
I'm glad. Well, and also I really hope, God, I really hope there's one person watching after an hour. But do you know what? We'll see.
Thank you
I
for watching, random person who's still here.
thank you. Leave a comment saying the word "Cartual" if you've watched the hour video. I will. Don't know. I'll be shocked to be totally honest.
I'll
with
tell you what, if anyone does it, we should put them in a raffle and we'll get like a $5 subscriber item or something
Is
like
that what
that.
we're going to do? Every person who comments "Cartual"
Gets entered into a raffle. And
Okay.
we'll get like one of the helmets or something
Okay.
like that
We'll, we'll,
off the
we'll give
store.
someone a $5 helmet if they comment "Cartual." Fine. We'll do that. Well, thank you so much for listening, everybody. This is episode 1 of hopefully a new series, which will be coming weekly or at least bi-weekly. Like, comment, subscribe, all the jazz, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Catch you guys later.